Hi there, this is John Keirstead once again from Arctic Spas, Vancouver Island, and today we're going to be talking about plug-and-play spas. It's become a category that's more and more interesting. We're getting lots of people coming in asking about plug-and-play spas. So, what is a plug-and-play spa? Well, the very basic explanation is it's a spa that instead of having, most spas are 220 power. You have to have an electrician come out. They put some, a ground fault breaker into your panel. They're running wire to it. On a typical 220 installation, obviously how far you have to run the power and stuff is all going to influence the price. But on average, I think our customers spend anywhere between $1,200 and $1,800 on getting their electrical done. That price can change a lot depending on how far you run and if they have to move around stuff in your electrical panel to create space. Sometimes that costs more. Maybe you have a rare panel or something like that. Maybe your panel is a long way away from where the spa is going to be, and so you end up running 400 or 500 feet of cable. That gets really expensive. That tech cable is not cheap. And so we find that a lot of the people that are considering plug-and-play spas, it's because their electrical is going to cost them $3,000 or $4,000. That's a good sizable chunk of the investment of the spa itself. So if they can avoid that with a plug-and-play, that's a really good option. A plug-and-play is really just like it sounds. It's designed to run on a normal 15 amp service and just plug it right in. Some of them recommend a 20 amp service, but you can use a 15 amp service. You can't have anything else on the same circuit, but you can just plug it in, and it has actually a ground fault breaker built right into the plug that has your test and reset button right on it. And that ground fault is protection that's required with all electrical appliances near water. So you might notice in your bathroom or your outside outlets, they all have a little test button on them. That's the same thing. It's a ground fault breaker. The cords on these spas typically are from 9 to 15 feet. They vary quite a bit. What happens if you're 20 feet or 22 feet? And at trade shows, we run into this problem all the time. The outlet's not really close to where we're setting up the spa. So we end up having to use an extension cord. So people ask us, well, what about using an extension cord? Well, you can use an extension cord, but it's important to realize that the gauge of wire that's used on that cord is really important. So with the spa, because of the amount of power that's running through there, you need to use an oversized extension cord if you're going to do this, because there's a bit of a voltage drop that takes place, and it can cause the spa the little ground fault breaker to trip if there's too much power being pulled through that cord. So if you are going to use an extension cord, make sure you get the real heavy duty version, but you can definitely do that, and understand now there's going to be a cord kind of in the way. So from a safety point of view, you want to make sure that your cord is in such a spot that people aren't going to trip over it. You're not going to have any hazard in that fashion. Now, what I ask people when they come in saying, hey, I'm looking for a plug-and-play spa, my first question to them is why? Why are you looking for that? Because there's a lot of pluses to having a plug-and-play system, but there's some minuses as well. So in this video, I kind of want to cover over what are the pluses and minuses. Obviously, the plus is that anywhere you have an outlet, you can literally plug your spa in and fill it up and start using your hot tub. You don't need to have an electrician come in and do any wiring of any sort. So that has some real convenience. And a lot of the, you see there's the blow-up spas. You can get a plug-and-play blow-up spa for as low as $500-600 if you're willing to take the chance on that. It's kind of a toy spa, and then a step up from that is some of the soft-sided spas. Your traditional type soft tub. Those are all plug-and-play as well. You have the rotationally molded spas that kind of look like, we call them dog dishes because they kind of got that plasticky, they've been rotationally molded to form the spa. Some of those can be pretty nice looking depending on what level. And you can even get a full normal spa if it only has one pump. Any of the one pump spas in the Arctic Spa lineup can be equipped as a 110 spa, and it'll have that plug-in connection and allow you to do it. So what's the trade-off? Well, one of the obvious things is that when you run 110, you're limited by the total amperage draw that you can have. So your heaters are typically either 1 kilowatt or 1.5 kilowatt maximum, because that is what leaves them under the draw. And remember, the pump still has to circulate at the same time as the heater's on to allow the water to flow past the heater and heat up the spa water. So we're working within that limitation. If your pump turns on high speed from low speed, it would shut the heater off. So a 1 kilowatt heater or a 1.5 kilowatt heater, you know, with the typical tub 250 to 300 gallons, that's going to take a while to heat up. So one of the drawbacks to a 110 system, it takes longer to heat up your spa. But that's really not that big of a problem, because once it's up to temperature and it's, you know, if it's properly insulated and has a proper cover on it, it doesn't lose a lot of heat normally unless you're using it. You take the lid off and you're in there, you lose some heat, but then you're only using it for, you know, average is 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe you're out there for an hour, maybe you lose a couple of degrees, but then you're going to cover it. And so you've got 23 and a half hours to reheat the thing back up. And it only takes you know, most of those tubs will heat 1 or 2 degrees an hour, maybe even 3 degrees an hour, depending if you got some heat lock going on with perimeter insulation. Getting some heat from the motor to also help heat the spa. So that is one of the advantages. And now, when you're running a 110 pump, a 110 pump on high speed is also limited by that same amperage. And so those 110 pumps don't move nearly as much water as the 220 pump. You know, the typical 220 motor is moving a wet end on the spa, which is pushing, you know, in around the 200 gallon per minute range. Whereas on a 110 spa, that high speed output of the pump is probably closer to 60, 70 gallons a minute. So the jet performance of a 110 spa is not as good as the jet performance on a 220 spa. And that's why on 220 spas, you'll often see larger jets that can require more flow, water flow to make them work. And then on a 110 spa, the jets are typically going to be smaller because there's less water to flow to each of those jets. So that's one of the things to think about. But that said, you know, you can turn jets off. Like most of the jets on the spas are adjustable, so you can turn these jets on and off. You can change the flow. So if you didn't have anybody sitting over in one seat, you could shut all the jets off, and that's going to cause the water that would normally be coming out those jets to just go out the remaining jets, which is going to increase your jet flow or the amount of water per jet that you get out of there. The real big thing about 110 spas is convenience. You know, I do think that a lot of people don't want to go through the trouble of having an electrician come and do their work, or perhaps their house has a limited supply of power in total. I know a lot of the retirement communities and stuff like that, these houses often only have maybe 100 amp service or even a 60 amp service I've seen. Well, some of the 220 spas require 60 amp service to run. So literally your whole house's power would be used to run the spa. So in those cases, plug and play system might make sense for you. Another group that it kind of hits is people that aren't really sure if they're going to stay in a house long. Maybe you're just renting, but you still want a spa. You don't want to do a bunch of work to the house that's not your house. If you can just plug it in, you can have a hot tub, and then when you move to the next place, you can plug that in. What's cool about a lot of these plug and plays too is most of these plug and play spas are capable of still running on 220. It's just a wiring setting that changes. So you could still later on decide, well, I want to start off with the 110 spa that just plugs in, but when I figure out, you know, where my final installation of this thing's going to be, maybe I want to do the work and get an electrician out to actually run the wiring so that I could run this on 220. Now, if you did that on an Arctic spa, if it was one of our converter packs, instantly your heating capability would go from the 1.5 kilowatt to a 4 kilowatt. So you're going to get a lot more heating power. It's going to heat up 2 to 3 times faster. It's also going to be useful if the weather outside is cold. On the island here, you know, it doesn't really get cold enough that we're losing tremendous amount of heat when the lid's off. Of course, you're losing some, but if you're in minus 20 and you take the lid off, you can drop a degree in a couple of minutes, right? So the advantage to being on 220 with that 4 kilowatt heater, you can probably maintain temperature even at minus 10. And definitely reheat it much faster in that regard. Now it's important to understand, if you have a 110 motor inside here, so 110 volts, if you're out running and you can change the spa over to 220, it's still going to run that pump at 110. That said, you could take that pump out and put in a 220 motor now that you've got 220 power hooked up to it, and you could run the whole spa as 220. So that's something to keep in mind when you're looking at plug and plays, is find out, is this a convertible pack? A lot of them are. I think even like on our Strongs, the Durasports, those are all converter packs. Any of the Arctic Core, those are all converter packs. So there is definitely some options to do that. A lot of the soft-sided spas and stuff like that, those are not converter packs. Those come, depending on how they do their heating, most of those ones aren't going to enable you to be able to convert. So that's one of the reasons the price difference exists. Now, a lot of people think, well, how much does a plug-and-play spa cost? Well, the range is huge, because literally any 110 or single pump spa in the Arctic series could be a 110 spa. We can run it 110. You can order it from the factory. We can make it have the plug and play option, but everything else about the spa is going to be the same. So for instance, the Summit, if you order it as a Prestige, so that's a custom series Arctic spa, probably the starting price of this spa is in the $2,000 or $20,000 range. So $20,000 spa, but you could make this 110. And again, you're not going to get the jetting that you would on a Signature, but you're still going to get 20 full-size jets. You're not going to have a ton of pressure out those jets on 110, but again, just by turning them on and off, you can control the flow out there, and you can literally get this spa as a plug-and-play spa. Still has the forever floor, still has the same cabinet, can have Spa Boy, can have Peak, it can have everything else that we would have on it. The only difference is it's being designed to run on 110 instead of designed to run on 220. And that's going to be quite a difference from a jet performance point of view. But other than that, the spa functionally would be virtually the same. All your topside controls and stuff, those all will function exactly the same. Spa Boy will function the same. Your LED lightings will function the same. And the construction of the spa is exactly the same. The only thing that changes is whether or not we use a 110 main pump or a 220 main pump. And that's really, the price of those are very similar, so there isn't going to be much difference in cost. So literally, on a plug-and-play spa, you could go from a $500 blow-up spa to a $3,000 soft-sided spa to a $6,000–7,000 rotationally molded spa to an Ellesmere. This Ellesmere here, this one in a 110 is around a $10,000 spa. So there's a lot of range, and you could go all the way up to a $20,000 spa all on 110. So you don't necessarily sacrifice what you're getting. You can still get all of the great features on a 110 spa. You're really, the only thing that is suffering is the heat speed and the number of pumps. If you want a spa that's got lots of jets with multiple pumps in it, then you have to go with the 220 spa. There just isn't enough power to do it otherwise. So I hope that clears up some questions that you might have about plug-and-play spas. It is important also, as one kind of final note, the surface that you set the spa on needs to be a flat, hard, level surface, right? So if you're just setting the spa on your lawn, that may not qualify as the proper service. It's best to talk to your salesperson or smart friend or even the installation people about what are the best surfaces to put these on. But some of these soft-sided spas, you could literally just set on a patio. It could be on your deck, it could be on hard ground. It's certainly possible. And of course, with the Forever Floor, you can put a Forever Floor on anything as long as it's flat and hard. So thank you for taking the time to look at this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. I'm John Keirstead from Vancouver, Arctic Spas, Vancouver Island.